So they passed me on into this other room so that they can drain it. And this like younger doctor comes in and he's like all worried or whatever, and it's weird. It was like it seems like he was nervous about something beyond my arm, and he comes in and he's like real gentle, rubbing my arm or whatever, trying to clean it up to give me this logo so he can lacerate my arm or whatever they want, whatever. And he's being real gentle, and I'm like, nah, man, go ahead, bro. I was like, I don't feel nothing, man. Go ahead. He's being gentle, and like 2-3 times, I'm like, bro, no, look. And I held up my arm, I was smacking it, and I was like, for real, it don't fucking hurt, man. Just do what you do. He's like, oh, okay. So he wipes it off. He gives me a local. He's like, now I'm gonna cut you, So he gets his scalpel out and he fucking slices into my arm, and it's just like a fucking fountain, man. It just starts spraying everywhere. It's like all, untying a water balloon. it was wild. And so he drains it, and he's in there draining it for a while. And I'm just completely exhausted from it. And he gets as much out of it as he can, wraps my arm up. He's like, all right, we're going to feed you antibiotics through IV and shit like that. And so I fall asleep. And when I wake up, I have this huge fucking just mess of a puddle, like all over the side of the bed, all over my arm, everything. So it's still draining. And so he comes in there, cleans me up and rebandages me up and everything. And, they release me on these antibiotics and stuff. And my arm's fucked up, man. It's real sore, real fucking weak, real hard to explain. But I had to keep my arm. My arm stayed like this for a while. My arm wouldn't let me go down. And it was kind of like an indicator of like throughout history there's been, I think Napoleon was one that, what is this thing with their arm that they do when they hold their arm to the side or something, hide their hand or whatever, what is, so I thought it was okay, maybe my body's supposed to, it's like a tuning fork and it's supposed to tune in a certain way and this certain shit's supposed to happen, and I don't know, So anyway, hey, I still got my arm. It stayed sore for a while. But if I would have lost this arm, I don't think I'd have been able to tattoo anymore. At least not certain locations because of the stretch. I believe the stretch to be the most important part. One of the most important parts in doing a proper tattoo is the tension and the elasticity of the skin. One might say that it's, something else or whatever. That's just my opinion. But ever since then, it's like I've been trying to find out what this thing was, and then 60 days goes by, and I'm still I don't know what to tell the doctors. I'm down here in the basement, like, Mom, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know what's wrong with me. I mean, things don't. I'm crying and shit. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. And, she don't know what to fucking tell me to do. And I don't know whether to see a doctor, a fucking lawyer, a priest, a fucking rabbi, a fucking psychic. I'm just like, I don't know, man. It's weird. And, months go by of me sending texts that don't make no sense, scaring people, which I don't really quite understand, I'm not gonna hurt you, but, I might hurt your feelings, and I kind of apologize if I do, but I don't if it actually helps you identify something within yourself, Why should I be apologetic for that? And, my mind don't stop. I'm just fucking sitting here, and I like just space out, man, and it's so fast I can't write it down. I can't put it on this. I can't put it on that, and I'm just trying to. Best thing I knew to do is like document it, man, as like an experiment. I don't fucking know. I think that's what we all are as individuals, are just experiments for like the hierarchy. But their experimentation, I believe, is to drive profit margins. So it's in this reality, that's the only thing that is important. Is how much money you make, how successful you are, what kind of business person you are. And some of us just don't have connections and people to be able to put in the proper position to take care of proper things to allow you to be successful. And then when you become successful, you forget about those things and those people that were put in proper places to allow you to become successful, and you lose yourself. You become money blind and ego. I've never, I've had money and I've not had money, and I feel like it's never really changed me. At least I don't think it has, but some may have different opinion on that. Then court, 60 days later, court comes. I get back on Zoom. I ain't got no ride, man. I ain't got the money. I ain't got this. I ain't got that. I mean, I'm in fucking Indiana. It's 5-hour drive for like a 15-minute court hearing, if that, So you want me to drive 10 hours for 15 minutes? That don't make no sense. On top of that, everybody's wearing masks and doing certain things through Zoom because of COVID and shit. So nothing made sense. So this was like an egotistical thing at the judge. Like, I told you was going to do something. You're going to fucking do it. And I'm like, well, I don't have the ability to do it. So if you want it done, you're going to have to assist type shit, And she's like, well, you got to come down here. I said, you got to be in court. And I said, I don't have a way. I said, are you going to pay for me to come down to court? Which, take a bus or whatever. And her response was, I can think of 3 easy ways to get down here. I'll just issue a bench warrant for each one of these. And at this point, I'm like, they don't even have a case. Public intoxication, that's not even provable without a drug test, a breathalyzer test. That's just fucking he said, she said, man, And then resisting arrest. Do they have a body camera? Because you can see with a body camera when he said, turn around, put your hands behind your back. Why would I resist after I did that? From that moment forward, I turned around, put my hands behind my back type shit. Disorderly conduct is the only thing that made sense, but disorderly conduct is also subjective. I wasn't hurting anybody. I wasn't, you can say that I wasn't in order, and this is where I think like multiple personality disorder. Okay, so disorderly conduct. Okay, so all right, I can see that in a higher frequency court system of being, all right, I can identify that, but what's illegal about that if you're unaware of what the fuck is going on? So anyway, after that I was like, fuck that, I ain't even, come get me, issue a bench warrant. If you want to fucking spend the resources to get me down there, that just shows your stupidity. Work out, judge that. But I ain't heard anything about it. Been pulled over, ran my name. I might need to stay out of Tennessee, but fuck, there ain't nothing in Tennessee but mountains and fucking corrupt cops or whatever. Fuck, my experience. I was born there. I think I left 3 months later. There's probably a reason. But this is just me just talking about, my fucking mind just goes one way, and then it'll catch a subject or catch a interest and like analyze it differently and take me in a different direction, when ultimately the goal is, you know, in the same direction. It's just how to get there. Um, you know, one might say that, um, you know, the money is the goal, but my thing is like I identify something more valuable than money, more valuable than gold bricks. Um, it's the ability to find your eternal self. Um, I have these theories on like, say if subconsciously you knew that you was going to live another life, and you wanted to leave yourself breadcrumbs or directions on how to get back to yourself. And in a dark place, that's where you find creativity. So, you know, artists are typically broke. Like they used to be, you know, they're suffering, alcoholic. You know, Poe, he was one of my favorites. He is probably my favorite. It's just because short stories, I was able to kind of like keep interest in a short story because I couldn't. It's just like now, I can't. It's hard for me to read because my mind goes elsewhere while I'm reading. Try to explain that to doctors and stuff. You know, there's overlook you because of the way you look. You know, and so all through this process, I identify these energies that remind me of people that I know, and I feel like these people that I know are communicating with me. And I'm trying to like make them aware that they're communicating with me. Like it's almost like telepathy, but it's really just reading frequency. It's kind of like when you can read somebody's intentions, but then we become so good at hiding agendas and stuff that our intentions, nobody sees the intention behind it. They see the agenda behind it instead. One thing that I know that I've always been clear about my intentions. No hidden agenda. From that point, what happens happens. You know. The only thing I can say is go with love and hope for understanding. You know, go with what I believe love to be. Again, misconception. You know, what is love? Love is understanding what hate is. I don't think you'll really grasp or be able to grasp the concept of what true love is without grasping the concept of hate and a certain dynamic. There's certain aspects of it that you have to understand that nobody's willing to understand. And it's about themselves. It's not about others. It's confusing, you know, when you do something for somebody with pure intention and really not trying to harm. Sometimes you do, but if you can get past those parts of trying to harm somebody, you know what I mean. If you can see it as that person's not trying to harm you, that person is just trying to help you, it becomes different. You know, and that's how you get your Christianity and all that bullshit in there of forgiveness. You know, it teaches us to turn the other cheek. It teaches us to, you know, forgive them for they, you know, not what they do type shit. You know, you live that life, dude, and you're just going to get fucking walked all over. I've lived that life. I forgive people for the wrong that they've done to me, and it just kind of keeps me at the bottom. And I guess the reaction from being at the bottom is being able to tune in from the bottom to the top and recreate this design or improve this design. It's like it's literally like a game. I feel like you know, it's also like a theater. It's also like marketing. It's also like there's like certain dynamics of it that have a unique kind of fun way of like marketing, as weird as it is. But see, fucking brain, man, I swear. Back to like leaving yourself messages. So take a painter that paints an image. We'll take Pollock for example. He was famous for like being an alcoholic. Not famous, but that's what he was an alcoholic. That like he was a hermit and fucking painted these weird abstract paintings, but they were like there were subliminal messages, and like certain people could read it, and that's what made them valuable. Is because they shared this consciousness, and that shared consciousness knew to purchase those, and kind of hide those for somebody that had money type thing. So it would be bought and nobody would see it again. And all these little clues and these breadcrumbs to kind of lead you back to who you were kind of get hidden because of the value on a subconscious level. And there's this idea, this is the way I see kind of into tattoos, but that's a whole different other thing, man. I get people that bug me about it, and that itself is overwhelming sometimes. So we started putting art on skin, subconscious connection, breadcrumbs type thing. So now if that piece of artwork is where it'll be where it needs to be at the right moment for who needs to see it to get the subliminal information processed subconsciously without the awareness of one's true self, because we believe who we are as an individual as to be like the name in which we were given at birth, or whatever, or the gender in which we were created in biological form. And then you can psychologically deter yourself to say, I'm not supposed to be a man, I'm supposed to be a woman. Well, I mean, as weird as it is, I kind of understand that psychology behind that, because when I started going to like therapy or intake or whatever, I was sitting across from she was a black woman, and I was being dead serious, and I told her, I said, why do I feel like a black woman? She just laughed at me, and I was like, I know it sounds funny, but I'm being dead serious. I said, I don't get certain concepts or whatever, and you go in here and you're talking to all these doctors and everything, and you really have no intelligence. They're just fucking pointed in a direction, and it says, if anybody says this, or this is their problem, this is that, diagnose them, give them this medicine, so on and so forth, and then the money will start coming. Basically, they just leave the money part out of it and make a doctor feel like they're doing what they're supposed to do. Now, I went into a doctor one of these times, speaking in these like tongues, and I talk to people and I'm like, I don't know what they are, man. I wish I knew what they were. I can kind of tell you about how I feel when I'm in a zone of that kind of dynamic. It's like I'm teaching, but I'm really just trying to communicate. So when I do it, it's like I'm not speaking to you, I'm speaking to your subconscious, and you're not aware of it. You think I'm fucking nuts, and that's cool, because the subconscious connection to that whole consciousness, that's where it's connected, is in the subconscious. That's where we are one. That's what Ra refers to as the law of one. And what happens is there's a veil of forgetfulness um, that gets kind of like scrubbed when you die or whatever. But eventually, say you find yourself again and you can identify who you are with all the other bullshit set aside, all the politics of it, all the money aspects of it, only the pure intention, no hidden agenda part of it. And you start to identify as these past souls, and you can call them gods, and you can call them celebrities, or it's just people that you can identify these certain traits with. That's the best way to explain it, because like I said, I identify these certain traits with people that I know, friends in my past or whatever, some that are there and some that aren't there, some that maybe wish they could be there, but circumstances don't allow it. And the same circumstances of I wish I could be in certain situations, but circumstances don't allow it because it makes people uncomfortable, or they don't quite understand it. And I get it. That's why I basically have to stay to myself and, miss being social, because people don't understand it. I mean, I don't fully understand it, but it's like the more I go along, the more it makes more sense than a dollar. The dynamics of it are they're very interesting, and it's almost like subconsciously and consciously, the calculation is, if I can make somebody aware of it, it's almost an automatic guarantee of redirection. And that's why I'm so into it, because I do believe that it's kind of like we're in the dark ages now and we're approaching the golden age. And then you can interpret that in whatever perception you decide to, but it all basically is going to go in the same direction. It's kind of like New World Order. People get this misconception of Illuminati, New World Order, Freemason, this and that, New World Order. It is kind of a New World Order. It's kind of like right now, it's disorderly, like disorderly conduct is what's happening. And once consciousness becomes aware of itself, and how to help and utilize the tools that it has and the devices to make things easier on mankind, which is like kind of where artificial intelligence merges with consciousness itself. Consciousness is kind. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's being connected without other devices. It's almost like telepathy. They're always like, "You hear voices in your head?" And I'm like, no, I don't hear voices, but I think I know what you're talking about. It's kind of like a self-dialogue type thing. But I asked a doctor one time, there was two doctors, and they was like, "Do you hear voices in your head?" And I used that, and I was like, "Don't you?" And they looked at me like I was fucking nuts. And I was like, "Well, how else do you calculate equations? How else do you make decisions? You got one voice that's saying, okay, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. Another voice that says, okay, if we do this, this is going to happen. Then you got all these other voices, like nobody's ever done this, or this. You know what I mean? So there's multiple calculations that can be made, but they only give you two choices. You go that way, I go this way. We meet back. That's consciousness. You gather information that way. You gather information that way. We meet back in the middle. We calculate. We break off again. You do that. Well, eventually it does that all the way up to the top of the pyramid. And if you think of a pyramid and a mirrored reflection an upside down pyramid. I feel like I'm all the way down at the bottom, and the acoustics of everything, like echoes and vibrations and frequencies or whatever, I've basically just kind of learned to read. It's hard to explain because it's not like they're words to read. I wrote a poem one time. I was in one of these frame of minds, and I read it to you. I think I've read it before, but it's just kind of one of those indicators that I was somewhere while I was still here, but there was certain dynamics to it that was very weird. I don't know what to call it, but when becoming aware, all things become square, and a tomb of reality and a pit of despair, and answers become questions, for many don't care, only to be rejected by those unaware. Our path may be dark, so our demons can fight. When comfort trumps growth, the ego takes flight. When essence of time has profits for mind, reality becomes love and the growth of mankind. The eye becomes hazed with finance and lust, and lies become truths, like oxygen makes rust. When power stands strong by the traumas of past, we love them by helping, so our lives are more vast. Fearless in motion, which most cannot see, they unknowingly coast on a plane of deceit. We are given some tools for seeing things clear, reflection of self you'll find when you're here. Don't play fool if given the chance, for life has no melody yet a beautiful dance. Souls create such a flawless design, with mathematics and size and feelings in mind. Shadows and fears form walls deep within, putting blame on love to escape from our sins. I feel what you feel, for we are the same. We've let us deceive us because of our name. If you call me a human, I'll call you the same. Our views may be different, though we are the same. When our soul's existence evolves on more planes, when we pay attention, we practice the same. The crescendo of silence awakens our ears, and the visions of prophets come to us through tears. With wisdoms through words until symbols appear, then words lose their meanings and things become clear. I now know my purpose. It's the clearest of clear. We must be love, and it starts with one tear. And I'm no poet, but one of the weird things about it is when you get to this certain point, everything starts to rhyme, and it becomes poetic. So I can relate to where poetry comes from, of this deep, dark, suffering place, and creativity. The same place. It's like when you're painting something or whatever, you can get lost in what it is that you're doing, and they call it like a zone. You're zoned out, or you're zoned in, or zoomed in, or whatever. I think we've become like digitized versions of ourselves through social media, and I believe that's a lot of people talk shit about it, but I do think that there's a benefit to it, that you can identify an ego to it, and you can keep it digital, and you can remove it from one's organic, one's sense of being, human being human, not a human being an ego. So we lose the concept of what we are and who we are because we believe that we're supposed to be someone else. And I feel like I've communicated with my grandfather that passed. I feel like I can communicate with family that's actually still living, and they're trapped in reflection. Which gave me this idea, I'll stop there and start this